Hi, Sparkles. This is episode 184 of the Intuitive Wisdom Podcast. Today, I'm sharing my conversation with medical intuitive Christine Lang. This week, her brand new book, Ask Your Spirit, releases. And in our conversation, we talk about physical symptoms as a signal system, questions to ask spirit to collaborate and get closer to what you want, Christine's style of meditation, and being open to having a different relationship with your body and spirit. Seeing potential instead of problems. Here we go. Welcome to Intuitive Wisdom, a space for grounded energy, soulful insight, and conscious living. I'm Kay Margaret Solorio, author, Angel Reiki Master, biotech graduate, and guide for those seeking alignment in their home and life. Each week, we explore the unseen layers of energy, intuition, and transformation. Because when you tune in, everything begins to shift. So take a breath, and let's begin. Quick announcements before we get to the amazing interview. My book, Make Ease Your Vibe, is now available on Amazon. You can get it either in paperback or in the Kindle version. I've also created bonuses for each chapter, including a chapter outline. So if you go to my website and click on book, once you make your purchase, you can enter your information and get access to all of those bonuses. Also, if you missed the Center and Soul series, from May, that's daily, just mini episodes, 2-minute episodes to give you a little inspiration and try out different types of meditation. You can still sign up and receive 1 month of daily emails and access to those episodes if you go to deliciousease.com/center. And last but not least, my home frequency reset service is also now available, and I have availability if you are going through a life change or just feel stuck in your space and you're ready to energetically cleanse, clear, uplift, reset the frequency in your space. Be sure to reach out. You can either DM me at Delicious Ease on Instagram or go to the website deliciousease.com/services for more information. All right. Christine Lang is an author, medical intuitive, wellness expert, and former attorney. In a response to the demand for private sessions exceeding her calendar, Christine wrote her highly anticipated book, Ask Your Spirit, Receiving Life-Changing Wisdom from Your Elevated Intelligence. This book is a complete roadmap to creating a direct connection with your spirit and enables readers to finally find the answers they need regarding their health, relationships, and career. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Christine.
Hi, Christine. Thank you again for joining me today. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited that you're here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, on this podcast, you may know we like to explore the magic that happens when you learn to hear and trust your intuitive wisdom. So I was curious for you, what's one of the greatest insights you've received from your intuitive wisdom and acted on?
I think it had to be when I was a lawyer and I assumed that was the best way to, quote, take care of people. I was going to, ride out on my white charger horse and, and take care of people. And my intuition, my spirit led me to this idea of there's other ways to take care of people beyond what I'd imagine, beyond those traditional routes.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, being a medical intuitive wasn't even a thing 30 years ago. So when I first started doing the work, I didn't even have a title for myself. I don't know, I just kind of help people. But I just had to trust my intuitive nudges that this was a more important way to help people. So
yeah, amazing. Well, tell us more. You've also got it behind you as I look at you, your new book, Ask Your Spirit. It focuses on tuning in. You mentioned already you're a medical intuitive. So I'm curious, and it's funny. I mean, it's not funny because spirit's always way on top of it, but I am experiencing physical symptoms today. You may be able to hear my voice, but how do we better understand those physical signals that our body is sending?
So I think there's a way to look at our physical symptoms as a signaling system. Just something's going on, right? Just some little tap on your shoulder that's saying, notice this. And then I think our next task is to say, is this physical symptom purely physical? You know, I tripped and fell off the curb, so my ankle is sore. Or
Mm.
is there an emotional component to it? And when there's an emotional component to it, there's a message behind it, right? So that idea of getting butterflies in your stomach before you go on stage in the fourth grade play was the manifestation of all your nervousness that is settled in the stomach area, because our stomach area is where we store stress about how others are going to see us. So as a little kid about to walk on stage, you store that nervousness in your stomach, and it results in that symptom. So there's frequently clues to what's happening based on where that symptom is. So I say your body is sort of a roadmap. And in the back of the book, I have an appendix where you can look up certain symptoms and what they mean. Right. So if, you know, stomach frequently has to do with how you think other people see you and how you see yourself. Right. And low back pain has to do with feeling stuck or feeling disempowered in some way. And it doesn't mean it's always that, but it's a place to start when you're going into inquiry with your body. Your throat symptoms, and you can edit this out later if you want. I will just tell you, I can look at your throat, and it's actually the result of what I call energy work, which is you're up leveling in some way.
I am.
And so there's some expansion going on there, and it's causing your vocal cords to not match up the way they normally do. And there probably feels like tightness in your throat, but it's not, it probably doesn't feel like the typical sore throat.
No, it doesn't. And
Okay.
it's been, growing for the past week or two. And my voice is much lower today, which I find very amusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been working a lot on myself.
Well, and that shows, right? So that sometimes we go through what I call energy work. My spirit calls them energetic adjustments, where your body is now keeping pace with where you've grown to mentally and emotionally.
Oh.
So those energetic up levelings are a good thing. It can still feel like a cold, or, you know, our brain will label it according to the 5 things we know it could be, right?
Fair
I could
enough.
have a cold, I could have the flu, I could have this. But in many cases, when my boys were young, they learned to ask, Mom, I have a weird sore throat. Am I contagious, or is it just energy work? And at one point, my sister looked at me and said, probably nobody else's kids ask their mom that. but learning to differentiate that, because like right now, that's a celebration, right? You're graduating out of the last version of you into the next version of you. And that expansion that I see in your whole 5th chakra in your throat is putting some pressure on it, which is why your voice is deeper, right? I feel like it's going to last another week to 10 days, then that work will be done. But it's going to increase your capacity to, in spiritual terms, speak the truth. I mean, I'm sure you already think you speak the truth. It's not like you're not telling the truth, but it's a deeper level of wisdom that can come through you that you can channel as you're doing this work. So yours actually isn't a message from your spirit about anything you need to pay attention to. It's a congratulations kind of a thing, right? And so when we sit in meditation and we, you know, connect to our spirit, and we can receive that message. And even if you couldn't have gotten all the information I just shared with you, I always say to my students, you don't have to download a paragraph like I do, right? Think of this like tennis, and I'm Venus Williams, right? You just have to be out there to serve the ball. You don't have to play at Wimbledon. So if you sat in meditation and used the techniques I teach in my book, you would probably hear from your spirit, this is a graduation of sorts, no worries, right? Or there's nothing else for you to do, just relax. Because part of what sometimes makes those symptoms a little worse is when we go, oh gosh, I feel like I'm sick, or what did I do wrong? Or why am I having this? This seems so unfair when I take all the supplements. And it's our resistance against them. So me telling you, oh, this is actually an up leveling for you, your throat automatically loosened a little bit because you took pressure off yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. And so there's that sort of stepping in towards. So when my spirit says, oh, you're having this energetic alignment or adjustment done, I go, how can I support that? How can I step towards it instead of resisting it subconsciously without realizing it? And I've used that to like get rid of small headaches, get rid of a minor bit of nausea or throat tightness, because I can feel, oh, I can just step towards it and go, thank you, universe. I'm sure this is for my benefit. And the symptoms dissolve.
That's amazing. Thank you.
That's advanced stuff. I didn't know we were going to get into that, but when you said about your throat, I was like, well, let me just tell you what I see.
No, I'm happy to be the guinea pig for other people to learn, and not to mention what a gift that I just received. But you also just mentioned headaches, and it's just made me realize that when I do energy work, often I do get a pressure headache because I just feel that stretch and vibration.
Yeah.
I can feel the higher vibration, and it sometimes either feels like pressure or kind of this like dull headache in the
Hmm.
top half of my
Hmm.
head. And I have that right now. And
Okay.
I thought
So
my,
I'm a little bit to blame on that one
oh,
because what
that's your high vibe.
yeah, yeah. Well, so when you're channeling because you're giving energy to somebody, it
Mhm.
naturally raises your own vibration. And so if you don't have quite the energetic endurance, you can start to get a little bit of a headache because your brain is actually the bones that fit together the tightest in the body. There's the least amount of gap. And so when they start to move, we can feel it as a pressure headache.
Oh,
So twofold answer to that. The first is the more you do it, the more it's going to go away because your
yes.
brain, your skull learns to just expand and contract. And the second is you can build your own energetic endurance by meditating and go lifting your energy all the way up above your head. That's where it's being pulled as you're channeling energy. And when you start to get that headache, bring it in more as a column. What's happening is it's falling a little too far out. And as it looks like a funnel on top of your head, you're getting a little bit more of a pressure headache. If you bring it into more of a column, that can usually bring those bones in the skull a little bit back together and the pain should go away. But right now you're in front of somebody who's vibrating high, and so your vibration goes, "Oh, I know how to do that." Right up you go, and then you feel that headache as a result.
Yeah, but then you asked me to just to bring it in, and now it's in. It's not
Yep,
heavy. That's just
there you
amazing.
go.
I think I forgot all other questions because I'm just trying to absorb all
This
that you
just
said.
became
It's
a
fascinating.
session. Right?
Oops.
No
I mean,
worries.
thank you a million times, but um, yeah. Oh, so you already started to talk about it. I had a question about I'd read one of your blog posts about being open to asking different questions of spirit, and I think that also relates, like you were saying, the different physical manifestations. Like, how can I support this
Right.
change in my body?
I think a lot of times people ask questions. Um, like their spirit or God is a giant ATM machine, right? And they're just like, give me this. How do I manifest the boat? How do I manifest the new car? How do I get this? And what I say is when you want to have the new relationship or the new job or the whatever, instead of saying, how do I get this? Like what's the recipe to follow to get the the new boyfriend, the new job, the new house? Instead say, what can you tell me about a new relationship, a new job? Because what your
Mhm.
spirit's going to come in and say is, here are the obstacles in your way. Here are your limiting beliefs. Here are the fears that have you keep pushing away the thing you say you want. Here are the things you have to heal and clear so I can bring you the thing you're asking for. And really, that's more relevant than the recipe for what to get. So I try to teach people in the book to ask more generalized questions about what do I need to do to collaborate with the universe in accomplishing this thing I want, not how can the universe deliver to me. That's very parent child, right? Give me this
Yeah.
thing. And what your spirit wants is to be in a collaborative co-creation session with you
Oh,
and say, oh, here are the things that I just want to get you to see where you put this limiting belief on yourself about what you can earn and where that belief came from, that conversation you had with your aunt when you were 9, right? We're not even thinking about that. So those kind of conversations are the things that when I'm in private session with somebody, they go, oh my God, that's so true. And then like magic, their income doubles over the next 9 months, right? And then it was just that obstacle we had to move out of the way.
that's amazing. So less ask, I'm just repeating to absorb.
Yeah.
Um, Less asking directly for the manifestation and more saying, here, I've set this, for lack of a better term, goal. I know
Right.
there's a path to get there. Can you illuminate the path and show me
Well
what
said.
next or what else I can do to get there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Um, I also was curious. I've had conversations recently about up leveling, and I'm going through that now. But this idea that you get tested when you
Mm.
up level or things come up, or sometimes I've heard it described as when you raise your vibration, anything that's lower vibe kind of has to work its way out so you can be at that higher vibration. I was curious your perspective on that.
I think there's a little bit of truth in all the things you just said, but we shouldn't lean too heavily into any of that, especially the idea of being tested, because I don't think God or our spirit or the universe tests us. I think it's more accurate to say your spirit or the universe will invite you to push on your edges and stretch yourself beyond where you thought you could go so that you aren't limited by the scar from that relationship that didn't work out in college or that one boss who fired you and said something ridiculous to you, or your spirit is going to say, let's get rid of that. Why have that as a limiting belief or a guardrail of sorts on how you can expand when it's not even true or it's not even necessary? That's not really a test. It may feel like the universe is testing us because it feels like a lot of challenges. But when a client comes to me and says, oh my gosh, I feel like my spirit is testing me or God is testing me, I say, well, let's differentiate between the difficulties that come when our ego gets locked down to this is what I have to have and this is how I have to get there, right? Which, welcome to your bumpy road, right? Or when we say, I feel like my spirit is stretching me here and it feels daunting and intimidating and nerve-wracking and a little bit exciting, right? The first feels lonely, like you're climbing Mount Everest with a toothpick all by yourself. And the second one feels like you've got the universe's energy behind you. It just feels a little intense and you're nervous. And when you really feel, and clients go, well, I don't know which one. I'm like, sit with it for 2 minutes. And they go, oh, yeah, it's the first one, right? They'll feel into, and you really can differentiate that. If it's an ego, which is the first thing I described, where your ego has said, no, this is the way it should be. This is what's fair. This is how I think it needs to go. This is the proper way for it to happen. Then we get locked down, and then there's a lot of bumps in the road because the universe doesn't necessarily subscribe to your idea of fairness. And if they're trying to bring you that or even something better, and you're still determined to go this other way, it probably will feel bumpy. But that's not the universe testing you so much as trying to course correct you to say, let us bring you something better. Let go. You're like a dog with a bone. The bone has no meat on it. Let go of it. Let us show you this other thing. And when we can flow with that, life gets easier and we get things we didn't expect. So one of my favorite sayings is, thank you, universe. I'm sure this is perfect. And the best time to say it is when everything looks like crap, right? You're just like, thank you, universe. I'm sure this is perfect. And sometimes I do say it a bit sarcastically, but I keep saying it until I go, okay, I'm sure this is, because there's so many times where I can recount where things looked awful. And later I went, oh, well, that really was for my benefit. It really showed me this, or, I had this breast cancer scare, but wow, it really separated out.
That's true.
The two friends that were my closest friends and the two friends that were really casual and disappeared the next day, right? And wow, look at the blessing in that. And different things that have occurred that in the moment look really awful because you're in the messy middle. And later you see the gift that it was. And so when you can reflect back on 3 or 4 or 10 of those, then you can start saying, thank you, universe. I'm sure this is perfect. I don't know how, because it doesn't look like it now, but I'm sure that it is. And then you start intuitively getting hold of how you want to take your next steps.
I love that. And I think also before you were talking about how the universe is leading you on the path, like how to ask what's the next right step or what can I do to help get there. And I think sometimes those challenges, like you also just said, bring you the clarity. So I know I've been working and doing a lot of energy work. And so I kind of, for lack of a better term, my blueprint, my conditioning, establishing that. And when I was in a difficult situation and I had to react and I had no time to think about it, I surprised myself and realized, oh, there's something else I need to work on, because I didn't realize that's how I was going to do it. So sometimes it shows you.
And I also think it's helpful when we ask for the next right step, not the end goal we're going towards. Because clients will say to me like, well, I just want to know, should I move to Montana or should I move to Texas? Because I have friends in each, I'm not really sure. And I want to know where I'm going to meet my ultimate partner, have the best job, blah, blah, blah. And invariably her spirit will say, well, if I tell her she's going to end up in Pennsylvania, she's just going to go there now. Right. So, and if she's meant to have a great adventure in Texas or in Montana, I'm not going to shortchange her from that, because we always want to make the straight line between here and our endpoint. And your spirit wants you to have all the goody steps. So asking what's the next right step for me is better than saying, where am I supposed to end up? Or is this my ultimate job?
I love that. And it's so helpful. You alluded to it already, but how do we use meditation, or how do you use meditation? Do you sit in silence? Do you use music? Or do you use a guided meditation? Do you ask questions before you meditate and listen for the answer? Do you ask during meditation?
All of the above. When I first started meditating, I was, the stressed out lawyer, and I was horrible at it. I could not I also had the misguided impression that meditation was sitting and completely clearing your mind of thoughts, which only happens when you're dead. So I just, felt like I was failing every day. And I finally understood that I was supposed to observe the thought, notice I'm having a thought, and usher it away. And that helped. And then I started doing guided meditations, which had music to them, high vibrational music. And that turned out to be the ticket for me. So on my website, I have free guided meditations. So if that's the ticket for you, great. When you sign up for my email list, there's a free guided meditation that walks you through getting a message from your symptom in your body. So there's that one that you'll have in your arsenal. And then people can choose, do I do better to meditate in silence? Do I do better to meditate with music? It's really personal preference. And I have different selections of music that vibrate at different frequencies. So if I want to just get really heart centered, there's certain music that vibrates there, and a lot of nature soundtracks vibrate at the heart chakra level. It's why you hear them in spas, right? And if I want to vibrate higher, I have certain music that I listen to that vibrates. You can feel where it nudges your energy up to and where it's easy to vibrate. And so I use it as a tool in that way when I want to focus. And as far as my style of meditation, my spirit taught me the style of meditation that I teach in the book, which actually plugs you into hearing your spirit directly. And so that's the style I always do. So that's what I teach.
Wonderful. Those are the questions I had. You're such a wonderful wealth of information. Is there anything you wanted to add today?
Well, I would just say that being open to having a different relationship with your body and with your spirit. I think we're raised in our culture to have a somewhat adversarial relationship with our body. We're always trying to mold it to look the way we want it to look, perform the way we want it to perform. And even the whole biohacking thing is, how can I make my body do the things I think it should do? Mm-hmm. And I invite people, instead of being critical of their body, to get curious. And that softens your energy and opens you up to get quiet and centered and hear how when you have a recurring chronic symptom, it is a gift in that it is your spirit leaving you a message to say, here's a way you could live happier, more joyfully, less limiting beliefs. And when you approach it with that, like, ooh, this is going to be, this secret hack, you're going to get a lot more information and you're going to move through it. And that's where people get the fastest healing.
By being curious.
Yeah, and seeing it as something that has the potential to benefit them versus this problem that needs to be solved. Because in our culture, from the time we go into school, we're trying to earn the gold star or the little smiley face sticker on the top of our math sheet, right, in kindergarten or first grade. And so we're always trying to earn the perfect answer. And so many clients come to my workshops and classes saying, if I need to do all the right things so I can earn my health back. And that just makes me sad because their spirit kind of shrugs like, I'm not holding it hostage, right? That's not how that works. And the body wants to heal itself, which is why I teach intuitive energy healing. I was a Reiki master when I started this, but I realized I started getting larger and larger volumes of energy coming through my hands. And my spirit said, yeah, because the universe entrusts healers who will listen instead of just following the recipe. Well, she has back pain, so I'm going to put energy in her back, right? And really listening, well, where does her spirit want the energy and why? Mm-hmm. And to start unlocking things and realigning the body. So as that got stronger and stronger, and I was teaching it, I renamed it because it kind of left some of the practices of Reiki behind. I don't teach hand signals or any of that. Hand positioning. And that whole system is really geared towards understanding, what is the body trying to tell you? How did it have to adapt to how you're insistent on doing things, right? How is the body adapting in a way that it's mirroring for you some of your limiting beliefs and limiting behaviors, right? So for instance, leaky gut is almost always a lack of boundaries that we know we probably should have, but we don't know how to enforce. And so we let go of energies and nutrients that we should have for ourselves, but we give them out to other people, right? And then so our leaky gut is a mirror for us of what we're doing mentally and emotionally and with our energy. And so when we start understanding that, as you repair it and make those healthy boundaries, the leaky gut goes away.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, it's a very different approach to healing, as you know.
But it's so exciting, and it brings it so much more full circle. Like, we all know that we're body, mind, and soul, and we all know that the complexities of the body are a little beyond us, and we have all of these systems that happen without us telling them to, and that there's more going on than what we see. But to then witness the results, like, and I think that's kind of the point you're making anyway, is that these physical symptoms are there so that we can see and get a clue, because it's harder to tune into the invisible, I suppose.
Yeah, well said. I mean, my journey started when I was in law school and developed these awful allergies, and I just, was told I was allergic to dust, which is everywhere. So they're like, good luck, right? So I just got on this quest of like, I'm going to cure these, right? And so for me, as I realized it was all about my ugly self-talk and how harsh I was when I talked to myself, as I worked on that and it got better, my allergies diminished. So it wasn't like they went away in one day, but over a process of months and months, I got rid of all my allergies. I now have none, and radically transformed how I talk to myself. So that was the gift in it, right? Was my spirit was like, no, it's like your spirit is your best health coach, mental health and physical health, right? And so as she coached me on that, it got to the point where, the inside corner of my right eye would itch, and I would stop and go, wait a minute, before this gets any worse, let me just, I was just criticizing myself or beating myself up about that. And I would transform it. And so by the end, I had no allergies, and I had this way of talking to myself that blew open the possibilities for me, right? So it's in that way I've learned to model everyone else's journey that comes to me. It's like, well, wait, let's see how this is a gift and how your life is going to be so much better as you heal this, right? It's this coaching process along. And sometimes it's one session and they're like, oh, I had a client who had recurrent bladder pain, and she's like, I had one session and 98% of bladder pain was gone for like a year. And then she said, now it's back and I've got another session. I'm like, okay, let's see what triggered it this time. But she knew by then what the original message was about. She's like, I know it has something to do with it. She just couldn't quite get that one piece. And then we got that, and she hasn't had it since. So sometimes it's magical, and it's, really powerful. She'd done a lot of work on herself and she was really primed for it. But sometimes it can be that simple. But a lot of times it's a coaching process, right? Your symptoms get better as you work with the message and take the suggestions your spirit gave you.
Amen. Well, tell us the best place for people to find you and to follow your work and buy your book.
So I'm everywhere on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. I've got a lot of videos up on YouTube as well. And on Instagram and Facebook, I will post last minute cancellations. So I know it's not easy to book a session with me. We open once a quarter for sessions, but they usually sell out in about 15 minutes. But I did get a couple cancellations a month that we post on social media. My website is christinelang.org, O-R-G. And as I said, if you sign up to be on the email list, you'll get a free guided meditation to help you get messages from your symptoms. And then you'll get notices of the healing classes and other things that I teach as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I really appreciated this conversation.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you for joining me on Intuitive Wisdom. If this episode brought you clarity or inspiration, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. It truly helps others find this space. If someone you love could use a shift in energy, share this episode with them. You never know what might resonate. For more, explore my frequency reset service, tune into more episodes, or begin the journey through my book, Make Ease Your Vibe. All this can be found at my website, deliciousease.com. Until next time, trust your energy, honor your space, and keep coming home to yourself. Cheers.